Hi guys, it's Desiree. Welcome back to my channel. And in today's video, we are going to be doing all the books that I've read and DNF'd in 2023.
It was late at night. You tossed and turned as thoughts began to play. How can this be life?
So if I'm looking past you guys, I have it on my computer, which is behind you. So that's why I'll be looking up. So at the beginning of this year, I set my Goodreads goal to 6 books. I wanted it to be like a small number to try to achieve. I didn't want to put any like pressure on myself. And honestly, I'm super glad that I did, because I didn't read as many as I read the previous year. And I went through like a couple of like reading slumps. So I'm really glad that I gave myself like a smaller number and kind of just worked my way up. We did surpass that number like early in the year, but still, I'm just glad that I set a low number, and I'll probably do it again this year. I picked 6 because 6 is my favorite number and it's still a small number, so I'm probably gonna set it to 6 again this coming up year. So let's start with January. I like made a spread. So I made a bit of a spread to try to like keep track of each month what book I read. So starting at the beginning, in January, I read 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I'm going to put pictures up of the books, because although I do have some of these physical books, they're all in that back there, that bookcase. And yeah, I'm not going to get that out of there. It is a hot ass mess over there. So wherever I put it, 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I gave that book 4 stars. Loved that book. I didn't give it 5 stars, and I think looking back on it, I didn't give it 5 stars because as a minority reading about another minority character, one thing that bothered me a lot about Evelyn was that she never like stood up about her being a minority. And I understand, like, in the time period where she was at, like, she was just trying to get by, trying to make that money, trying to get her trying to get seen in the famous world, in the Hollywood world. So I understand that with doing that, you have to, especially during that time, you have to reel it back a lot. But I wish, like, at least once or twice she would have, like, said something to, like, shut people up. But besides that, like, that book was so good. Like, I have a reading vlog. Phenomenal. That twist, yeah, love. Definitely could potentially be a 5 stars for me. But 4 stars is what I gave it. Okay, so the next book I read in February was Brittle Prince by Sophia Lark. I know that this is a book in a series of, I want to say, 4 or 5 other books. I tried reading the second book. It just wasn't for me. I can't do it. Honestly, the first book was good. It was pretty dark, and I don't read dark books. So that was my first time, like, reading a dark book and actually finishing it, and it definitely was like, okay, this is kind of what that realm is like. And I tried getting through the second one, which I believe it's like a stalker romance. I definitely couldn't do that. I was getting paranoid, and stalker romance is just, it isn't it for me. But going back on Brittle Prince, I gave that book 3 stars. It was a good book. It held my attention. The spice, girl, okay, it was spicy. I didn't give it a review, but I gave it 3 stars. So I haven't read any like dark romances, so I'm not gonna suggest reading this. If you want to get into dark romance, you gotta do that at your own pace. But I did enjoy the book for what it was. Probably won't read the series or finish off the series, but yeah, it was fun while it lasted. So in March, I read Ignite by Melanie Harlow. I also gave this book 3 stars. When I read this book, I remember reading this book and I was like infatuated. I read up to like 60-70% within like a couple days. And then like it started to feel kind of dragged out. Like the father, because it's a father nanny, not nanny, it was like a father neighbor romance type of thing. Like single dad and a neighbor. And honestly, the man was just getting me annoyed. Like, I felt like it was dragging. Like, he was like, I want to be with her. She's moving. and the pages were just going and going and going, and he knew he wanted to be with her. He knew he was going to confront her about it, and then pages and pages and pages and pages would go by, and he still wouldn't go see her, and I was just over it. I ended up just like skimming through the last couple chapters when they got together, and then I ended the book. So that's why I got 3 stars from me. It was good. At the beginning, it kept me on my toes. I read, and then it just started to drag, and that's when I was like, okay, yeah. Okay, the next book I read in April, one of my favorite books. This book is still in my head. It's been months. I constantly think about this book. I come back to it all the time, and love. All right, so that book is Contract Bound by Ellie Mae. This book, Kindle Unlimited, if you want to read it. I don't think it's in bookstores. I'm pretty sure she's an independent author. I think you have to like order off of Amazon or off her online shop or whatever. But if you have Kindle Unlimited, it's on there. This one and then the second book in that series. But yeah, so this is a vampire lesbian book. And honestly, when I heard that, I was like, okay, different, but I'll read it. Wow. Like, that book is so good. I remember I didn't give it 5 stars because, why didn't I give it, I think it was like, so it's enemies to lovers. So it's been a minute since I've thought about this book. So there is, I feel like it's a mix of Vampire Academy and, if you ever watched First Kill on Netflix, great show. So I feel like it's kind of a mix of that. So there's vampires, and they have their own like society, like their hierarchy, all that. And then we have vampire hunters who are trying to kill them. I'm pretty sure they call them, I forget what they're called. I'll put the name of what they call this like vampire hunter society like right here. Sylvia is a vampire hunter, and then Kira is kind of like, I want to say like vampire royalty. Like her dad is one of the like head members. Like he's one of like a leader member, and she's the daughter right under him. So she's the heir, and she is about to take over his spot because he is like supposed to step down and she's supposed to take over. And Sylvia is a vampire hunter, and she works for the Order. That's what it's called, the Order. And the Order's kind of tricky because although they're vampire like hunters and they want to kill vampires, they also kind of work with the Order and like send their vampire hunters to take care of the higher people in the Order and make sure that they're safe. So it's kind of a bit of like hypocrisy here type of thing. But yeah, so Sylvia gets chosen to watch over Kira and keep her safe until she can take over as head from her dad. When I tell you this book, look up trigger warnings. This book, okay, it was, I kind of want to say dark romance. Definitely heavy on the enemies, heavy on the pining for each other, like the banter, the angst. Oh, I ate it up. It's my favorite. I ate it up. I didn't give this book a 5 stars because I'm not gonna lie, like some of the stuff that they did to each other, I was like, this is getting a bit crazy. So I can't give this a 5 stars, but in my head it's a 5 stars. On paper it's not, because it got kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie, it got kind of crazy. And the second book, that second book, because the first book leaves off on a cliffhanger, and then the second book picks up. Wow, great book. Okay, so in May I read 2 books. I read Carrie Soto Is Back, and I read She Drives Me Crazy. Starting with Carrie Soto Is Back, Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was my first like tennis books. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid, as we know. Malibu Rising, one of my all-time favorite books, right there with Daisy Jones and the Six. Literally my 5 stars. My 5 stars untouchables. Love them. So when I went into Carrie Soto Is Back, I was kind of like scared because I had been hearing a lot of people saying, there was a lot of mixed reviews. There was a lot of, it's good, but this is another Hispanic character written by a white woman, and it's giving stereotypes. So I was nervous going into this. Book. Honestly, the book was really good. I gave it 4 stars. As somebody who is... okay, my camera just did something weird. Anyways, as somebody who knew nothing about tennis and went into this video knowing nothing about tennis, I came out wanting to know more about tennis, which is actually perfect because Netflix has a show right here. I can't remember the name of it, which is all about tennis. So what I really liked was I read the book and then I watched that show, and now I kind of have some background knowledge about tennis, and I sometimes watch it here and there. I still don't understand the scoring system. So, if anybody wants to give me a crash course on that, leave it in the comments. But, yeah, I thought the book was really good. I could see where people were coming from as far as a white woman writing a Hispanic, not even just a Hispanic character, a white woman writing a minority. It's different than reading from a minority, writing about minorities. And I will say, I feel like this year I've seen a lot of books like that, where a lot of white people are writing minorities. Anyways, besides the point. We're not going to get into that discussion. That's a whole big other topic. But I thought the book was really good. I learned a lot about tennis. Carrie Soto's story resonated with me in, I felt so seen by her, and the way that she describes her emotions and being in relationships and her, work ethic. I felt very much seen by her in that sense. So I definitely give this book 4 stars. I didn't give it 5 stars due to the fact that the Hispanic, we didn't really get to delve that deep into her Hispanic heritage and root that I would have loved us to. So that's why I gave it 4 stars. So She Drives Me Crazy. This was on Kindle Unlimited, and it was by Kelly Quindle. I think that's how you say her name. I gave this book 3 stars. It was a good book. It was a good sapphic, cute little sapphic romance, high school type of thing. I loved it for what it was, but if you want something cute, quick, that's a good book to read. I just wanted something quick, sapphic, and cute, and I read that one, and yeah, 3 stars. So, in June, I read 3 books. Starting off with number 1, I read Quarterback Sneak by Candy Steiner. As we all know, Candy Steiner is one of my favorite authors, and Quarterback Sneak is the 3rd book in her, I think it's Red Rival series. This book had been one of my most anticipated reads out of this series because he was my favorite character. When I read him in the 1st book, in the 2nd book, he was my favorite. I was so excited to read his character. He was my favorite character. But when it got to his book, I'm not gonna lie, it was dragging. So this is a coach's daughter, football player, forbidden romance type of thing. And it was obviously the tension was crazy because they liked each other and they wanted to be each other, so they were teasing each other. The banter was good, but they would go a little far and then they would be like, no, we can't because my dad's your coach and you're the coach's daughter, and da-da-da-da. And honestly, the first couple of times I'm okay with that, that's fine. But when we're getting deep into the book and their feelings are so strong for each other and they're still no, and just denying their feelings and doing all that, I can take it to an extent. Once it passes that, I can't take it anymore. Yeah, no. So this book got 3 stars for me. I don't even think I fully even finished. I think I skimmed, the last couple pages when they got together. So, then, I read one of my favorite books in my new favorite series this year, Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. This series right here, that's my Chestnut Springs. Yeah, that is my Chestnut Springs small town romance series, okay? So, there is 3 books in this series. I'm only going to talk about the first one because the first one's the only one that I read. In my next video, where I do, all the books that I want to read, and yeah, I'll talk about the other 2, but just talking about Delilah Green Doesn't Care. This book, I'm not gonna lie, Delilah Green Doesn't Care was not phenomenal. Like, I gave the book 3 stars. But it was a good book. This is called the Bright Falls series. So, Delilah Green swore she was never going to come back to her hometown, Bright Falls. At the age of 18, she moved to New York City to start her photography career and never came back. Her dad passed away when she was, like, in her 20s-ish. No, not 20s. I lied. Her dad passed when she was, like, a teen. And her only, like, family members she had left was her stepsister, Astrid Parker, and her stepmom. I don't remember the mom's name. So anyways, when her stepsister, Astrid, is getting married, her stepmom hires her to photograph everything leading up to the wedding and the wedding to pay her. And, like, she agrees to pay her. And Delilah is short on money, so she takes the offer. And although she doesn't want to go back to Bright Falls, she's like, I'm just going to do this. Come back to New York, and I never have to come back here again. So, then we meet Claire Sutherland. She's one of Astrid's best friends. Claire has a daughter. What's her name? I think it's with an R. I don't know. So Claire has a daughter. She has, like, a young, like, preteen daughter, and she just completely cut everything off with her daughter's father. So she hasn't been in a relationship in years, and all she cares about is taking care of her daughter. So when Delilah comes to town, she's kind of, like, eyeing Delilah, and Delilah's like, I don't think she knows who I am, but I know who she is. And they kind of, like, flirt before she finds out that this is Astrid's sister. Like, you remember her, like, we grew up together. She just looks a whole lot different now. And I really liked it. Honestly, I will say that there is a daughter, like a child in this book. But honestly, she was perfect. Perfect little child. Delilah was able to connect with her, and they kind of created a bond, while Delilah also created a bond with Claire. It showed, like, I really like how the family dynamic was represented between Claire and trying to start a new relationship while also having to deal with her child's father, her life, running her business, Delilah not wanting to be in Bright Falls, but kind of wanting to stay type of thing. It was really good. It was a really good book. The next book, this was my first 5-star of the year. And also started this series for me, and it's still going. But anyways, so I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, and I gave this book 5 stars. Yeah, this was my first ever, like, not murder. No, I lied, it was murder. It was my first murder mystery, like, book. Mystery books I'm not great with. I can't keep up with it. It's too much for my head. But the fact that this was, like, a young adult type of thing, it was very easy for me to follow. So the premise is, for her senior capstone project, Pip Fitzanobi decides to open a cold case from her town that happened 5 years ago, where the murder of Andy Bell and Sal Tsai, she decides to open up their case and investigate it and try to, I think she was just honestly trying to, like, see, like, where the cops went wrong. I don't think she was trying to solve the murder. But yeah, as she's trying to solve this murder, somebody is trying to make her stop solving this murder. So it was very, very, like, interesting. I was like, you know, it kept me on my toes. It kept me on my toes. And this was a really good book. So in July, I read no books. Yeah, it was the beginning of the summer. I guess I just didn't touch any books. Okay, then we go into August, where we start the first book in Candy Steiner's new series, her new NHL series. Cannot remember the name of it, but the first book is Meet Your Match. Yes, and this book was 5 stars. Black female main character, okay, and hockey players. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not big on hockey books. I had earlier in the year had tried to read hockey romance, and it wasn't for me. So this was my second ever hockey romance, and it did it for me. I'm starting to see the hype. So this book follows Vince and Maeve. Maven is a social media like influencer. She works for a company, and she gets the opportunity to spend 1 month with Vince Tanvin, I think is how you say his last name. It says Tampa's hottest rookie, 24/7 access on and off the ice. So you could imagine how that is. Yeah, their first meeting doesn't go as great. So when she finds out that she has to stay with him for an entire month, not stay with him, but be around him 24/7 for an entire month, giving access on and off the field, on social media, and then having to write up like an entire thing about her spending her time with him, she wasn't so happy. So obviously, it's a bit of a forced proximity trope. Vince is this like rich, cocky playboy, and Maven's is like, I'm just here to do my job and leave because like this is my big opportunity. This is my big break. Like if I do good, my bosses could give me something bigger. I could move away from this kind of line of work and get into something bigger. So yeah, I'm not going to spoil too much, but that's what that book's about. Now we are in September. The first book that I read and finished was Miles High by Liz Tomford. Gave this book 3 stars. Loved the female main character. Eventually came around to loving the male main character. I know her name's Stevie. Cannot remember his name. It's like Evan or something. I want to say Evan. I'm going to go with Evan. Hated him for the first half of the book. Started to come around towards the end. The next book I read was Triced Sixth Venom by Penelope Douglas. This is my first and probably only Penelope Douglas book I will ever read. But yeah, on paper, this book is a 4. In my head and in my heart, this book is a 5. And I will explain why I gave it a 4 on paper. And why sometimes I'm like, I wish I could give this book a 5. But then I think about it and I'm just like, no, I can't. This book, to this day, this book is on my mind. It's been months. I read this book back in September. I still think about this book. I only have it on my Kindle, and I'm going to buy this book. Honestly, I'm probably going to buy it today when I get out of here because I want it permanently on my Kindle to read whenever I want. I will be finding out where I can buy this in physical copy because I love this book so much. So, the reason why I did not give this book 5 stars is because this book is a bully romance. I personally don't like bully romances. If somebody bullies you, I don't think that you should be dating them. And I'm not gonna lie, some of the stuff went... Obviously, we see some of the bullying incidents. And there's one particular, I'm just gonna say, a scene where after they were training in the rain... And it was after when they were going to, like, get ready and stuff. Or, like, you know, get changed to get out of their wet clothes. And they get into an argument. That. Yep. That. Okay, so then the next book I read in September was Cleat Cute. I did a reading vlog about this. So if you want to see, like, my full reactions, all that, it'll be in that video. All I'm going to say is I gave it 3 stars. It was a good book. It was cute. It's something simple. If I want to pick up like a cute little sports romance, I would pick up that book. But I gave it 3 stars. So, check that out over there. Okay. Now we're in the month of October. I read The Naturals. I also did a video on this book. I'll put it up somewhere. Again, if you want to see my thoughts, my full reaction, watch that video. I gave this book 5 stars though. Yeah, it was giving. So this book, it's honestly like a teenage Criminal Minds. We have a group of teenagers that are called, I forget what they're called, like what the group as a whole is called, but they all pretty much have like their own special thing. Like 2 of them are profilers. One of them is really good at like data, and another one is really good at reading emotions, and each of them have their own thing. And they work with the FBI, like cracking cold cases. And Cassie is the new girl that gets brought in with the other people, and she's helping them crack cases. And we also know like some background that her mom was murdered, but she went missing. So we don't know if she died or if she got away or what happened. And that kind of ends up tying in within the first book. There are, I believe, 4 books in this series. I have the second book and I want to get the last 2. And I'm going to do a separate video where I finish off this series. But you can watch that first video to see my reaction. The second book I read is Good Girl, Bad Blood. This is with the first book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I gave that book 3 stars. All my thoughts and opinions are in that video. Okay, so now we get into my December read. In December, I read She Gets the Girl by Rachel. I do not know how to say that last name, but her and her wife created a book about their, like, how they met, their love story, and that's what this book is about. I gave this book 4 stars. It was a beautiful book. It was a cute, just college, like, romance between 2 girls. It felt very realistic. Like, I could see this happening. One issue for me was I think I was like 50% into the book before I realized that one of the characters is half Asian. I don't know if I missed it when I was reading the first half of the book, but I feel like they didn't explain that until we got 50% into the book. So, yeah. But 4 stars. Next 2 books I read in a video that just went up, no lie, a couple days ago. And I read 2 Christmas novellas to try to get into the spirit of Christmas. I'm, again, not going to give you guys my full opinions because watch the video. But the first book was More Than Mistletoe by Maya Winters. This was another college romance. Very freaking cute. Very freaking cute. Very realistic feeling. Gave this book 4 stars. And then I read Two of a Kind by Ashley Pine and Emery Eden, or Eden Emery, might be the other way around. I gave this book 4 stars. Honestly, I might give it 5 stars. This book, for it being a novella, it threw me around and put me back down. I was crying, I was laughing, I was the spice, okay? Crazy. So that was a really good book. So those are all the books that I read this year. This video is going to be so long. Editing it is going to be so freaking long. It's not going to be as long as my next video, though. I can tell you that for free. Okay, so we're going to talk about the books that I DNF'd this year. I DNF'd 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I DNF'd 8 books this year. So we're going to rapid fire. Yeah. Just reading the titles, it comes to mind why I DNF'd. Number 1, Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I bought this book because of the Hulu TV show, and I was like, interesting. I want to read this. Just like the TV show, I couldn't get past the first episode. But the book, I don't even think I made it like 20 pages in. It was, I'm so sorry, boring. I tried. Boring. A lot of people keep saying that Normal People by Sally Rooney is really good, but I just don't think Sally Rooney is for me. Nothing against her. I just don't think her writing is interesting to me. Next, Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This book, I read it because everybody was like, the cover is not what you expect. Also, I had been coming off the high from Luke Off with Love, and I was like, you mean to tell me this is a ice skating hockey player romance? Different than 2 ice skater romance, but still, I'll take it. And from like some of the quotes I was seeing, I was like, this is giving me like that kind of vibe. And it wasn't that at all. All I'm gonna say is, again, no offense to any of these authors. This is just my opinion. Okay, I don't want any offense to these authors. If you like it, I love it. But personally, I just didn't. Icebreaker, it was giving Wattpad. I read a lot of Wattpad when I was younger, so this just felt like that onto paper. I stopped right around the Halloween like the Halloween section, and I'm really glad because I saw spoilers for the book and it just gets cringy. It gets really cringy, and I'm glad that I didn't finish it. So these next 4 books are all in a series. I tried to read every single one of them, and I didn't make it far at all. And if I did make it far, then it just lost my interest and I couldn't finish it. So I'm just going to reel them off. And they're all from Elsie Silver. With that being said, that does not mean that I will never read an Elsie Silver book. I'm sure she has other books that I want to look into and try to read, because she seems like she writes really good books. It's just these books just couldn't hold my attention. So that is Flawless, Powerless, Reckless, and Hopeless. Pretty much the entire Chestnut Springs series just didn't do it for me. Next, The Ties That Bind Us by Eden Rose. Again, this is what I get. Again, sometimes I just get on my Kindle and I'm like, Sapphic Romance, Kindle Unlimited. And it came up and I started to read it and I was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this. And I took it off. That doesn't mean that I probably won't go back and try to read it. I think I will, just not now. Not anytime soon. And lastly, I Kissed Sarah Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. She also wrote Red, White, and Royal Blue, which I love that movie. And although I didn't finish the book, I was loving the book. But yeah, it just, I Kissed Sarah Wheeler just wasn't doing it for me. I think the fact that, like, Sarah Wheeler was kissing, or it's called Shara, but I know it was Sarah. Anyways, the fact that she was kissing, like, 3 people and was like, I like you, to all 3 of them, and then disappears, and then they have to try to find her. Yeah, girl, bye. Not my problem. Not my problem. So, with that being said, those are all the books that I've read and DNF'd in the year of 2023. If you guys want to hear what I will be reading in 2024 and currently reading and everything I look forward to next year, that video will be up next. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If not, I will see you guys in the next one. I have a couple reading vlogs that I am literally trying to finish within the next couple days. That'll probably be up in January. Because these are going to be my last 2 videos of the year. So, very early in January, I will be uploading, I'm pretty sure, 2 separate reading vlogs. If you guys want to watch those. If not, I will see you guys when I see you next time. Bye!